Okay. Okay, remember one of the moves. I'm going to break it down, right? I'm going to break it down real quick. Break it down real quick, all right? Look, when you own a house, right, and you pay taxes, okay? When you pay your taxes go directly into the money that is used to assure the national debt won't go down. And everything has a percentage to the different investors who bought the bill that made the law that makes you pay taxes, okay? That's a basic breakdown of it. It's quick, easy format. But look, and then we got, if you have a school system, right? You have a minor school, a middle school, and a major school, right? All those people that say you have 1,000 people that work there, right? Those 1,000 people are signed into what they call a tenure. So you make 10 years before you can be sanctified your job forever, or until you retire or can't do the service, just like a judge, just like a federal judge, not a state judge. State judges fall under a different ramification. You can find a lot of this information if you go into your township, county, borough, whatever you might live in. The zoning people are the people who handle all the money, and the CFOs. You can find it under the CFO's indenture too, but. Right? If you take and you hire somebody as a teacher or as a township worker, you get them to sign a contract. That contract is then given to the DTC and it's traded to the IMF. It's given into a market, right? I think, as far as I can see, it's an 1107 market for most county worker or township workers and teachers in townships. That's not regional schools. Regional schools fall in a different market. They fall in a different place. Usually regional falls where it's going right to the Cayman Islands because you can get a big investment pool to pay, right? So then the IMF then prints the money and hands it to the township. They put it in an EIN number. That EIN number attaches to the Social Security number of the teacher or person that's that's doing the thing, right? That's doing the job. They become the attached vessel to the shore of the ship, okay? Now, they get checks every week. Let's say they get $1,000 a week, and they spend $200 every week they pull out in cash. That $200 is all that's taken out of the 10-year fund that they are given, and the township gets to keep that. That goes into the CAPA. What they, like cut the meat or leave the blood stain on the porch. You'll get enough meat to make it through the week as a slave in Israel. That's why you have to donate to Israel. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But then townships have these major accounts. And the township I live in is at $500 billion. I mean, not saying that everybody pulls just $200 out of the $1,000, but the bank, because they're a membered FDIC, because they have a membership there, they pay less than the $4 for the dollar. Like you have to pay, like when you're an investor, you don't get your principal back, or you can. It depends on what contract you're signing into. But when you're the IMF and you're signing notes into play under people's private bonds. Because that's what they are. There's those numbers on the dollar. They're private bonds. Most of them are private bonds. They're not public bonds. They're private bonds. They're corporations and sovereigns signing bonds and giving it to a treasury in the world, because the IMF and the Federal Reserve print everyone's money. They don't just print America's money. That's why Puerto Rico was so important to get, because Puerto Rico is where South Beach, Florida is. That's Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is not where these guys that fly the national flag of Puerto Rico. My son-in-law is Puerto Rican, and I love Puerto Ricans. Well, but they're not. They're Tangazee. They're Tangazeans. They're not. Anyway. But that's why it was so important to have that, because that was a transmitter to get the money away from the state to make it into a federal jurisdiction, because now it's in an outlying land. And the federal government owns all outlying lands and all the ammo dumps and money makers, everything in the outlying land. They had to pull it out of the state so then they could deface it and create the game around it. But then and they have to receive their principal back because all principal goes to the creator. Like if you run electric, you go from the above at the telephone pole, run it over to the house, bam, down to the meter, bam, and run it into the house, bam, and then put it into the box, split 100 groups. How many ever times that breaker is? Each one of those breakers is 100 groups split. Okay, it's a vessel split, right? And it defaults, and the breaker doesn't trip, causes the neutral wire doesn't fracture the breaker to trip, and it goes out to the ground. Now that electricity is going back to its creator. I don't care what it is, I don't care what number it is, I don't care where the transformer is, I don't care whatever made it, created it, whatever, that it's rushing to get back to its creator. Rushing to get back to it. It'll kill you to get back to its creator. Everything does. So, when they do that, the only people that don't have to pay the principal and the interest on the value created for 12 cents. It costs 12 cents to make any bill. Any one of them. $1, $100. If they had $10,000, it costs 12 cents to make it. But you have to pay the $1 back to the principal for your usage. Again, the law of uses. You have to pay the you have to pay the $1 back for borrowing it. For borrowing it against nothing. And then you have to pay $3 for the interest on it. That's for them to back nothing. And for you to work your whole life for it. And not figure this out. Okay? And now the townships have these CAFA accounts. And everybody thinks that budget is something to do with money. When people budget their checkbook and budget their income, that's stupid. That's stupid. That's like saying I'm going to get married. You're going to create a corporation against the United States or with the United States, whichever you choose, private or public. Because if you create a public corporation, you're going with the United States, which creates you under the laws of bankruptcy, which is the dead man statutes, which puts you as a dead entity, a fluency, and in the control of the United States. Or a private corporation. It depends on which way you go. But you can't budget things. Budgeting means you're leaving it out to hurt the citizen, to stop the citizen from receiving a service. It doesn't have anything else to do with it. It doesn't have anything to do with numbers in a book. It doesn't have to do with checks and pluses, and that's like, that should make you throw up, because that's what they taught you, that you should be balancing and budgeting. You should be balancing and budgeting, but you should be budgeting to the no ends that you have everything. And you're just budgeting it because you don't want them to have it anymore. It doesn't have anything to do with checks, lines, errors. I mean, look how they change kids' math, man. Look at this shit. We're just going to round that up to 10, multiply it by this, divide it by this, and we'll get the same answer. If we don't bucket, you're right anyway. And people are always, they're just not paying attention. And they're telling us all kinds of crazy shit. You know, they've always been telling us, but and they didn't really even change the language. People stopped listening to what people were saying. Straight up. There's no way around it. People just, yup, whatever. Yup, whatever. Yup, whatever. Without realizing they had control. We relinquish control of our lives. I've always lived my life like I've never been acting in a suit. I never looked at life like that. But you watch a lot of these big court cases and stuff, and when they come and they do qualifications of law and all kinds of shit, they're all actors. This is what to do as an actor. Did the actor do this? What fucking actor? I've done everything with my blood, sweat, and tears. I worked round the clock for 25 years of my life, round the clock, because if I'm going to be far away from my family, I might as well just work the whole time, and I'll get on another crew, I'll figure something out to do there, or I'll drive 25 hours, work 25, drive 25 back, just because I'm not where I want to be. I'm not like Sagittarius. I can't drag everything around with me, and I have to see water at least 4 times a month. I have to be able to sit by water 4 times a month. It's just being a Cancer, but you know that people always say to save your race, you have to keep proclamating it. No. To save your race, you have to insert your race into the only color there is, all the colors there are. You're not going to win. We're not going to win by dividing. They always tell us that, oh, you got to keep this, you got to keep that, you got to stop having relationships with all kinds of people. You got to stop that. Why? Why do they say that? To save your race. No. I can inject my race into somebody else, and that somebody else can be born of me in another color, right? And somewhere is locked in the DNA of that person that was just born. The color is in there to come back out when it's time. We need to man up and get together, man. They're all on the same page. They're all on the same page, and they always have been on the same page. Somebody told me a long time ago, they were like, in 1789, Harvard Law was 200 years old. That's just a fucking mind-boggler. That all this shit was set up long before anything. What went wrong? Where was the turn when people forgot? Everybody thinks they deserve the right to have a gun. No one should have guns. Guns kill people. You have the right to arm yourself against a tyrannical being or a supreme or altar of government that's coming to take everything from you. Because when you're born and you shit and you flush the toilet, you're giving your return to the state. Everybody deserves a return, but that's earth. Because earth is soil. And what do they say you do? You soiled yourself. You're creating the earth that's going to make your earth to live on one day. It's making your earth. And you're giving your return to the earth to a township. And they're getting the value from the return. Because whenever you return something where it belongs, it gives you a value. And if you return it to somebody else to return it, and they don't give the value back to you, and they keep it, eventually they're going to have to, oh my God, what did we do? Oh my God, we have all this, and now what do we do? You see what I'm saying? Can you feel me a little bit? I mean, I don't even know. It's so deep and so thick. If you live in a township that takes your trash, right? People always say littering's bad. You know why? Because it's not cultivating the return for somebody else. Because you're not giving it to the earth which it came. I don't care if it's plastic, it's a polymer, it's created from something of the earth. And rocks aren't earth. Rocks are not earth. Earth is soil. When leaves fall off the trees and lands where the seasons change and all that stuff recycles. It's the earth. Everything else isn't. You don't know where rock come from. You don't know if it was compressed under the soil by tectonic plates or some shit like that they say, or it came from the other side of the dome. Nobody fucking knows. Nobody's been here long enough to crush a rock that long. And there's nobody. By the time we can remember it, we've already made something cataclysmic happen where those people aren't around anymore. I'm sorry. it's inevitable. There's just now. There's no herein. There's no therefore. There's no after world. There's no before world. It's just energy. This just happens to be a break in the direct pattern. That's all. It's just a giant egg swirling around you. Through you, in you, around you. And every time they say something that you don't like, it causes a default in that energy. Instead of just progressing it through you and just whatever. That's cool. Everybody's like, what the fuck did you say? They programmed us. Programmed the whole fucking planet. I don't know. You gotta see it. You gotta see it's there. You gotta see it right in your face. You gotta know. And how you know. Have a good night.